Hello, I'm working on a junk journal cover for Junkie June. Feel free to grab some supplies and craft along. So what I have here is a cereal box. This is the size of a cereal box. So what I did here was I tore it apart here. You can see the edge there. Cut off the top and bottom flaps and then cut off this edge here. And then I sliced it down the middle of this this panel so that I can glue it together like this and have double the thickness on the spine. So I find that cereal boxes are sometimes a little difficult to work with because they are a little flimsy. So oftentimes I am doubling up on the amount of cereal box that I am using, especially in the spine area. I think that for this particular project, we're probably going to be okay with just a double spine here and a single front and back. But if you don't like the stability of your box, feel free to double it up, and just make sure that when you are adding stuff inside that you keep in mind that there is a thickness to the box itself. So I couldn't just, if I'd cut this box in half, I couldn't have just shoved it in here because it wouldn't close as nicely. We would need to have a little room for the thickness of the box. Now, what I had done on the outside of this box here was I had put down a bit of gesso. I had some gesso out and I was just gessoing a whole lot of things, which gives me the opportunity to make it easier to collage on here or cover it in some fabric, where the gesso would help make the image less likely to come through if it's a thin fabric. If I was using fabric today, I would probably have done another layer of gesso because of how brightly the colors are still coming through. But today what I'm actually doing is going to be a little collage. So I was inspired by PM Artist Studio. They had a bunch of tin fish that somebody gave them, and they were making like a fish journal. And I actually had a bunch of tin fish myself from this, I think they're Danish, a Danish company that we were trying out. So I think I'll go on a fish theme. I've got a couple of these old calendar pages that I was going to use. Let me grab my glue stick. And so my thought was this would be in the background. I'd have this dude like hanging out from above, and then this would be a bit of the background there. I might cut into this so you could see more of the reef. Or maybe I'll cut into the, oh, maybe it'll be easier to, I don't know. Maybe I want to keep those little yellow guys, even if it'll look interesting there. So, okay. So I'm going to start with a little bit here, and then this, no, a little bit here. And then I'm going to cut around here, put more of this here, and then put this down. So when doing collage, it can be a little tricky to figure out what order you want to do things. I probably want to extend a little further just in case I want to cut pretty deeply into there. And I don't have to go too deep. It doesn't have to be super thick. So maybe around here. And I will just quickly glue this down. So I'm doing Junkie June, inspired by Margaret at Seven Plaza, who is sponsoring this hashtag. I don't think she's doing a whole lot to, it's not a very formal thing. It's just a, hey, let's play with junk kind of situation. So, whatever kind of junk you have, it would be great. I'm just doing this for fun to just pull out the sort of things that I have and see how that's going to go. All right. And then this is going to be great to go down there. Now it's a question of how do I want to cut this guy up? So, Olive Ridley, sea turtle. So, I'm not particularly good at fussy cutting. I know that this is like not a particularly difficult image since it's so huge. But I just wanted to put out there that I'm not a super great fussy cutter. So we can do something like that. And then it's a question of how much of this we want to put in there. So maybe I don't want to cover up that top that much. Maybe I want to go something like this. Something like that. It's not so bad. And then this one could go, I think that might be in the background. Well, oops, I don't know. I would like to capture this sea anemone. It might go in the background here, and I might trim up a little bit of this. Hopefully not too much. So maybe I'll trim up, and then that might help me not mess that up too much. So I don't know what the stringy thing is here. I'm assuming it's this turtle's lunch and that it can go away. So I really like using used old calendars, both the large ones and the small ones, for these kinds of projects. So if we bring this guy up here, probably go something like that, and that would be close enough. And then I got all this glue going everywhere. So about this far. I think that, you know, I don't have, when I buy a wall calendar, I'm kind of committing to it for the entire year. And I like to buy something that I'm going to enjoy looking at. I like having one around, even though I'm not using it really a whole lot, but it's nice to have one around. And I tend to not, you know, I just want to make sure that there's some nice art out there. And that really gives me a lot of, you know, opportunities to, you know, later use it for my art projects. But in this case, these were from, I think, 2 different aquariums that we had memberships with at some point. So maybe we'll go like that. We could go, I don't need as much of this brown, do I? Yeah, maybe I'll go like this and just glue this down. That way I'll have a bunch of this and also save some of this. And what you want to do here when you can is to not have a paper ending at the crease here, otherwise it'll tend to split. So I really like reusing items. So this was a great fun exercise that Margaret is encouraging everyone to do, and I hope that others join in as well. Clearly, you know, it doesn't, I think the real point is to be able to use up some of the stuff that you have that you wouldn't necessarily have kept otherwise. And I think that's a great reason, regardless of how well it might look. I mean, I'm not doing this to make it like a beautiful piece of art, but to have fun playing with some papers and doing some fun things with it. So hopefully I can get that and not have like a weird yellow fish in the back situation. And I see my glue is getting a little soft. I'm also running out of this glue, so I'm going to have to soon find another glue stick here. And it's quite possible that in the future I might have to reinforce this a little bit. I mean, as I'm flexing this, opening and closing this journal, I might need to reinforce some of this glue as the different layers might not be moving in the same direction at the same time. So that's cool. And then here I could potentially, maybe that one, I don't want it to go upside down, but maybe this way we could fold it over just to have a little color on the other side. I mean, the point is to have fun with this and, you know, make something that you wouldn't normally have made if you hadn't had these free materials to play with without any kind of guilt for having purchased anything or potentially wasted something. That at least plagues me sometimes when I'm thinking about what I want to use my nice materials on. So these were all calendar pages, but I've got some other materials that I will bring up in a little bit here to share with you and discuss. I think I can have these go over as well. So I have some ideas about things that I'm going to be putting on here next. And so this will serve as some nice bit of background, just some background color that won't have a whole lot of meaning or exposure, as other things are going to go on top of it. I was also thinking that I would want to deliberately leave some of this brown cardboard exposed so that I could use it, just remind myself what I'm using here and kind of celebrate the cereal box that is being used here. So this is a little, now it's a little soft from all of the glue that I've added. All right, so then on the inside here, what I was thinking was I had some ideas about using these tins. So like I was saying about the larger box, I had undone the sides, and then I tore the part where it had been glued together. And so you can see here that you got these flaps that are often a nuisance and easily cut off as needed. And in this case, what I was thinking was on this side, I would have these flaps. So I'd have two of those, where they would be flaps that can fold down. And then on this side, they could be kind of like pockets that you could insert on one side. So thinking maybe this one would be easier to do, I'm just going to cut off these, all of these flappy things on this side. So then maybe I will take off these little guys on here. Apologize if I had run off a shot there. Okay. So my thought was this would be a little pocket that you could tuck things into on this, in this direction. And I guess I would have to glue this back together to make this one similar to that. I will give this a moment to dry while I work on these other things here. So here I think I will just have this be placed. Be like this. Okay. So I'm using this glue here because it dries pretty quickly. It's not necessarily the best glue for this purpose with this kind of thick material, but I think it'll serve our purpose here, because aside from this sticker area here, maybe I should have pulled that off. It should glue on pretty quickly and we'll be able to move on to other things. All right. So did I put this in the wrong direction? No, okay. All right, we're doing that. Hopefully I'm straight enough. I have no idea. And then here I will cut off similarly this end. And really, is there a rhyme or reason to what I'm cutting off and where I'm putting things? No, not in this case. What I'm really doing here is enjoying the opportunity to look at these papers and think about how I would want to artistically arrange them and what I think would be fun to see and use. So, I mean, you can make your pockets completely different, or not do pockets at all, or do something else. You know, it's really open to interpretation here. You're likely to have completely different boxes. If you're a sardine eater, that's cool. If not, I'm sure there are other kinds of things we could be using. And see here, since I've removed that sticker, we have a surface that is more likely to grip onto the glue and help adhere better to other surfaces. So we'll stick that on. Oh, shoot, I forgot. I was going to put glue here to close off the end. So now that's going to be difficult to get in here. Alrighty. Okay. Maybe that's okay. And then sticking out a little bit. I don't know if I mind that much. Probably mind that they're not even, but that's all right. If they're bothering me, I could cut them off. But if they stick out a little bit, I mean, that's kind of like slightly added decoration in my opinion. So we'll see how they look once the whole thing is complete. All right, moving on to the other side. I had this vague idea that it would just flip down and then we would have, you know, something like a pocket. Maybe I will remove this part here, which is kind of a little distracting. If I go this way, it might be a little easier for me to see the line than on the other side where the blue is kind of wrapping all the way around here. So, and having gained from my experience from putting on the ones in the back, I probably want to tear off this back information that isn't going to be used. In retrospect, I could have turned this into another pocket where you could have like tucked something in behind, but I'm not going to worry about that anymore at this point because we are moving right along. So how do we want to do this? I'm going to make it really simple. I'm just going to glue this on. I might come back in the future and I have some sort of closure here that will keep this in place and just make sure that I have enough room that I'll be able to add that if I wanted to in the future. So if you're wondering how this fish was, they were not bad. I think that they were a little on the pricey side for the value that I got out of it, but definitely worth a try. Maybe not getting a whole box like I did. So my family tends to be really into like having a charcuterie board, you know, like a spread of different items to graze on. Sometimes we do that as like our replacement Christmas feast or like for Thanksgiving, just for fun. And then everybody can decide what kind of things they want to add. So, you know, it's a nice change to try something new. And all of these flavors were definitely different. A lot of these were unique to the brand as far as I could tell. So here now I've got these two places where I could tuck these into or possibly just right on this white surface. And then I got these two pockets here where I can stick something in here. So that is the beginning of my cover for this fish-ish journal. And you can see I was folding it and it's starting to delaminate a little bit, so I might have to go back and do a little touch up here. But I am overall really happy with how this is turning out so far. So let me take a moment to show you the kind of papers that I'm going to be using to put in here. Now, just to clarify, my intention is to make the journal itself using quote-unquote junk. But once it has been built with junk, I will be putting in whatever I want, because I just want to use this as basically a creative canvas for various things I want to do. So I've got some of these envelopes that I can reuse or what have you. I've got this sack that I got from a purchase. Here's a page from a child's math workbook. Here's an order form that has a lot of space still, even though, you know, they use like half of one side. And then I got a bunch of these like packing paper from Amazon packages. I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. And so some of these I had already painted. So I think that's some gesso, and then other paint colors added here as I've been like picking up from my gel plate. So, and some of these are just plain. So feel free to use plain packaging instead of, you know, this I just had around that I've been using to mop up paint. So I thought that would be a great, you know, double reuse situation. But, you know, any brown packaging you have would work for this. My sister had sent me a bouquet of flowers for Mother's Day. And this I had just cut out of the paper that had been wrapped around the flowers. Here's a manila envelope. I'm going to have to make sure that this fits before I stick it in here. Might be a little large. And then I got a couple more of these images from the calendars that I think I could use as focal points or centers of the signatures. I intend to do 3 signatures. So that's a variety of different things. There's a bunch of other things that I intend to add to, well, I'm thinking about adding to this journal in the future. So this little packaging I had that was holding some paintbrushes, so that'd be fun to put in there if I can. Here's a glassine bag. Here's some envelopes that are, wouldn't be really great to go into a signature, but could be glued in. Here's some packaging that held some stamps. Tim Holtz stencils packaging. This part of our charcuterie situation, we had these really fancy crackers with this fun cutout shape. It'd be fun if I could do something that would be like a, you know, has some movement in this journal if I could figure it out. Here's another stencil, and here's this. Here's another backing for some stamps. And I've been saving these for years. It's about time that I've been using these kinds of things instead of hoarding the packaging for the supplies that I've been purchasing. So that's just a bunch of different ideas. I think that, you know, what is junk? It's, I mean, if you have something that is as intriguing, as captivating as this kind of thing, where you've got these kinds of cutouts. This was destined for the recycler, I suppose. But I don't necessarily see it as junk because, you know, for me, I see a lot of potential. These things, you know, I think most people would be asking, why are you hanging on to these when you're not using them for storage, right? These envelopes, I think you can make a real good case that they've been used and normal people would be throwing them away. Envelopes or bags that have come with, you know, holding your plastic silverware or whatnot, you know, that makes sense. This packaging, I definitely normally would have thrown that away if I hadn't been thinking, oh, I could use that today. Old calendars, now that the calendars are expired, is that considered junk? I mean, sometimes I buy the calendar with the intent of saving the images inside, not these, but, you know, if I buy something with really nice artwork, I could potentially intend to cut out the pictures and make them, you know, standalone artworks sitting in a frame. So what is junk? This was used briefly to hold something. It could be reused as an envelope. I don't know if this would really be classified as junk, but I'm thinking about using it here. This, certainly very pretty, but wrapping around flowers that are ephemeral in their own nature, probably it would be considered junk. Packaging intended to be junk, to be recycled. But, you know, there is a big range of what one could consider to be junk, to put into a junk journal. And I encourage everyone not to think too deeply about, you know, what is junk, what is not junk, what is junky enough for Junkie June. I think we should just focus on playing and having fun. It would be a lot easier to make something that would be something I could write in if I had just grabbed some tea-dyed papers and put them in this journal, instead of trying to be, you know, somewhat fancy and trying to collect all these materials that had already been used once. So you should not be constrained by the definitions, and you should grab the things that are enjoyable to you and are going to make a product that you're going to enjoy and be able to use. So with that message, I hope you join us for Junkie June, and thanks for watching. Hey, I'm here working on my fish journal for Junkie June. So I have gone ahead and sewed in a couple signatures with all materials that were either going to be trash or recycling. So this is packaging for, I don't know, rub-ons or something like that. And then I have some of this Amazon packing paper, this wrapping for some flowers, more Amazon paper. And I've been using these to clean up my gel plates. So it have been taking up the paint around the edges and whatnot as I'm cleaning up between prints. I got a couple of these envelopes, a calendar, and we've got 3 signatures in here of 6 pages each. This is an old invoice, math workbook, bag from a purchase. And then moving on to the final signature here, this is a child's paper folder. Couple more envelopes, and I have some more packaging here that I'm gonna be putting into this journal. So more pieces of the box from which all of the sardines came, some more packaging from the this might have been holding dies. So I've got a couple of different pieces that I'm planning to put in here. For the front, I was thinking this could be a pocket that I could put something in the future. I could always close it up if it's not going to work as a pocket. But we can start as a pocket for now. Now I've used these calendar images on the outsides of my journals before. It is not the sturdiest material, but it does seem to last for a bit. So you can see around here where there's some of the white core of the paper showing. So I could potentially sand these a little bit, trying to get it smoother, and maybe touch up the edges with some sort of ink or paint or something. So for this one, I was thinking I would wrap it around like this so that we'd have a bit of a flip and I'd have something to put down here. And then on this side, it would be some kind of tuck. So I guess I will put the glue on this side so that the flipping will be possible on the other side. That way it'll be just a big, deep tuck. Going in this way, wrapping around to the other side, that can just fold out, and then I got this fun flap that, you know, could be used for something or glued down later if I need to. Then we have this. I was thinking I would fold it over somewhere. So these 2 envelopes I had glued together. So you've got 2 pockets here and then 2 pockets on the other side. And maybe it'll work here. My thought was I'd make it a flip out kind of thing and just make sure that I fold it enough so that it'll be able to fit in here. So this would be way easier with my bone folder, I would assume. All right, so I can either go this way or this way, or yeah, I think that'd be a little more sturdy. Give me some more options here. So this outer face is pretty glossy. Wouldn't be great for writing on unless you're using like a paint marker or something. But the other side is matte. You could potentially write on this side. And then on this side you could have some sort of decoration maybe. So we'll just tuck that in there deep enough that it won't stick out too much here. All right, it's not bad. And then moving on to the next signature. My thought was I would have like 2 of these things per signature. And I've got this deep flap. This is a vague idea. I don't exactly know what I want to do with this, but I could put it here. I could wrap it around. I'm thinking that putting it here would make more sense because the side is shiny and not as usable as the inside. I don't know if these threads here are going to be useful at all, but I'm going to leave them here for now. I can probably remove them later if I need to. But the threads can remind me what this is, and they might inspire me to do something different with this item here. I just have to make sure that I didn't put too much glue on this side because we don't want it to be sticking to the next page here. So there we go. Not sure what exactly I'll do with it at the end of the day, but it's there. And then I've got this piece that I thought would be some sort of belly band. I mean, I suppose I could have like a flip where you can write on one side of it, but maybe I will do that. Maybe that would make more sense. So I could glue it on here and then cut it short, or I could fold it over. I'm thinking cutting it would make more sense. And let's go ahead and try to be semi-straight there. Or maybe this side. I think this side would be covering less stuff up going that way. And then if I really wanted to be clever, I could make this a little tuck area as well. So we have some optionality if I wanted to use this as a tuck on this side, or if I just wanted it here to anchor the other side. So I got it glued down on 2 sides, so I can go this way. I could easily come through here around this corner later to help give an indication of what that is. And then here we have some thin flippy item. Okay. On this side, I've got this. I don't think I want it to look like the one in the front, so maybe I'll go something like, I could either have it like this, or one of each, or do something weird and fold it over. Yeah, I think that would make more sense going this way. And just use this as a pocket. So I would say the vast majority of the items that I'm using here in this journal are not things I would have saved had I not been doing junk journaling. Most of this would have ended up in recycling if I didn't have a specific reason to be doing this as I do now. So just gonna give that a moment to dry. And then we've got these flippy things. Gonna have to keep thinking about what I want to do with this. So I just really appreciate these flaps, and I want to use them, but they're not very convenient. And then we've got this one. I think I'm going to cut this off and make it another pocket. Maybe two. Oh, maybe there. Yeah, or just put it there. I think that would be a little easier. So most of my journals are not 100% recycled materials from my own house. Although most of my journals do have some percentage of materials that are being used that would have normally been thrown out. I like having a mix of those different things. And one of the issues is a lot of the stuff that I have is this, is a brown material that isn't great to be writing on with, at least the pens that I like to use. And then you're stuck with a brown background, which is fun in some ways, but can be limiting. And then, I mean, you can paint them up like I do here, or find some other ways to make it interesting. But I really like how this journal came together as a exercise in using all junky materials for Junky June. And I don't intend to use only junk in this journal. I intend to use it for whatever creative pursuit I fancy as I'm moving forward. But this is a great substrate to start working with. And for some reason, I really love these stickers that I get from some trash bags that I purchased. So I don't know, maybe I'll do this. I just think they're very cute. I don't have lots of places where the strong lines and the bright colors really fit in, but I think it makes sense to put them in here. And if I work on this again, it'll be using a mix of recycled materials and deliberately acquired materials. I've got a bunch of these other things that I can use in here. Like I got a couple of these envelopes that are ready to become pockets, but I want to cover them before I put them in the journal, because once you get them in the journal, it's harder to use them. And I've got some more of this, and this, and this. I've got a little bit more of that leftover packaging. Here's another piece of envelope. So I intend to be using these pieces in this journal, but what I do to decorate them may use, different kinds of materials that aren't currently part of this journal. So hopefully that was interesting, and I hope you give Junky June a chance and get your own junk journal together. Thank you.